Hey, Stackers, welcome to a special edition of Stacking Benjamins Live. I'm Joe Saul-Sehy. That's OG in the next pane. We'll introduce the other people that are here with us in a moment. Well, actually, you know what? We won't do it in a moment. Let me say this first, OG. We've been meaning to do this for what, 6 months?
I don't think it's been that long, has it? I think 5.5 months, 5 months,
Right.
and 5
Ryan,
months.
how long since you sent us these beers?
I think it was in September time frame. So yeah, probably getting toward 5.
Yeah. So that is Ryan Mack. He is a home brewer. He sent us back in September some beers. We said, hey, we got to have a taste test. And then every stinking weekend, either I've left the basement or OG's left the basement. By the way, OG, you want to tell us who the lady next to you is?
Yes, my beautiful bride, Lissa, of almost nearly 20 years now.
Wow.
So,
and this is my friend of nearly a decade, my buddy Mike.
Your beautiful bride.
Guinea pig ready.
Yes. All right. So Ryan, we've got 3 beers here. I'll tell you what they are because you might not even remember. The first thing you sent us was Stallions United against Hayes Pilsner. You sent us a Pilsner. And then you sent us a brown, Cider Mill brown. There's a fall beer right there. And then you sent us a Kolsch, King Kolsch orange. So which one should we start with, my friend?
Yeah, so I'm going to go in a little bit of an atypical order. Typically, I'd say you go with the lager first. I want to go with the Kolsch first. We're going seasonally, so that's the summer beer. Start there.
All right.
And I don't have any of these left to join you. I'm also coming off the last couple days of a dry January here to recharge a little bit. So I'm drinking homemade hop water with mosaic hops, basically like seltzer water with some hops in it. Pretty tasty, actually.
Is it really?
That's good. I wish
really?
I wish I could be joining you for one of these beers, though.
I was just thinking, oh, look at the nice light color. Yeah. So you said this is a summer beer.
There you go.
Yeah, that's nice.
Take a look at that light.
Yeah, real light.
Very nice light color.
I'm a fan.
I got a little head on that.
Mrs. OG is a fan too, and she's not even a beer drinker that much. So,
all right,
good stuff.
Yeah, you should get some orange. I like to do that with blood orange in a lot of beers. It's I think a better flavor. I don't know, for using regular oranges, I get like a little bit of a soapy kind of deal going on for my palate. So I prefer blood orange, but they were not in season at the time, so I couldn't find any.
Talk us through making this. Like, where do you start with this stuff? If somebody wants to start and for people that missed you and I talking about this on the show, somebody wants to get into home brewing, Ryan, what's the first thing they do?
Probably the typical path is they've got a buddy who already brews, or they get a kit that comes in, a little couple foot long box, and you got a 1 gallon jug in there, enough ingredients to make 1 gallon of beer right on your stove top, and kind of shoved away in a closet somewhere to ferment. So you can get those kits for, I don't know, $50 or so. There's a bunch of good ones. I love the Brooklyn Brew Shop one. That's how I started. I was giving it as a gift, and then I ended up taking back that gift for myself and took it on to the next level. But yeah, so they'll basically kind of foolproof it, right? They package everything you need. Beer at its core is just grains, water, hops, and yeast. And so they'll give you the right amounts of that and have a pre-made recipe that you really can't go wrong with.
We did the Boulevard Brewery tour. It was the woman was really funny. She said, what must have happened was out in these fields, there was some hops and some yeast got together and some barley. And she said, so all these things coming together wasn't the magic. The magic was somebody going, hey, you know what we should drink what's in this barrel. like how the hell somebody figured that out was the tough part. This is very nice, citrusy, very summery, gives me a nice summer taste.
Yeah, perfect. When it's been below 0 here in Chicago all week. So,
but see, that's what we like, Ryan. That's why we do this, because when it gets a little cold here, we get our summer back through you.
Yeah,
but I was going to say, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is in the basement today where you are, Joe, but it's a solid 70 here. So it's just like summer. So
yeah,
nice.
Cheers.
Right.
It's good stuff.
We I like the way you started that sentence when you said find a friend. I thought you said find a friend who homebrews like Ryan does for us and have him just give you some. That's what you do. That's the key to homebrew right there.
Yeah, if you trust that person with their sanitization practices, then yes.
Now, a friend of mine, he and his dad, did you and your dad also brew together at first?
Yeah, I had given it to him as a gift, actually, the 1 gallon kit, and then
So that was
then my
that was who
mom
the gift
kicked
was
it out
to
of the
with
house.
him. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Does he still brew too?
No, he was one and done. He'll
Just
still drink it, but he won't brew it.
well, that would be me also. Like if my son Nick wanted to microbrew, I'd be fantastic. That'd be great.
You'd be a supporter. You'd be an investor in his brewing.
I'd be official taste tester. The official taste tester. But that's not where you're at now. You have, I would imagine, much more money into your equipment now, because I feel like you're in competitions a few times a year, and you've got the shirts. I mean, this is a operation, right?
It is, yeah. And there's actually a competition here in Chicago today called Winter Brew. Usually it's a really fun in-person event at this big kind of German historical center, and they bring in breweries and they announce the homebrew results. Of course, it's not in person anymore these last 2 years, so waiting on those results. But yeah, I've invested in some equipment, but that's not to say there's not room for investors, possibly you, two smart money men such as yourselves. There's still room to get in on the ground floor of Mac Brewing before we take this thing to the next level. So we can talk.
He knows a sales opportunity when he sees it. Yeah. Spoken like a guy who in his real life is
we're like, we got to be one more or two more glasses in, and then you come with the
Right.
money.
Right. That's for the end of the interview.
Right. You blew it, man.
Yep. Too soon.
I'm just testing out the light material. I'll give you the hard-hitting pitch once you're a couple beers in.
That's right. Yeah. That's when he starts showing us the slides.
Yep.
All right. Have we finished this?
I think so.
I don't know what's taking you so long. I'm on TikTok.
So this reminds me a lot of Blue Moon. It's kind of got that nice citrus note. Like you could put an orange with this, I think, or any other kind of citrus. And yeah, that's nice. Kind of like almost like a Hefeweizen or a German wheat style almost, huh?
Yeah, I like that comparison. Blue Moon was definitely in mind. Being from Michigan, Oberon is a great summer one that a lot of people go crazy for. So awesome. Yeah, that's the exact kind of impression that I'm going for. So cool.
All right, so we need to get on screen.
If you're going to the next one, then I would go to the one that's called Stallions. That's actually named after a buddy of ours.
Named after OG.
Yeah, we've got who's also nicknamed as Stallion. So it's and he's a hater of the haze craze. You see all these New England hazy IPAs, which are delicious, but they can get a little bit old. So it's back to the West Coast, very clear, crisp IPA style. Or filter.
You and I have had that discussion before.
Yeah, about the hazy.
Well, about how I used to be all about the IPAs, and it just, I don't know what it was, just way too much of it, like over and over and over and over and over. And now my quest for a good light beer is like, that's exactly what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
All right.
Smells good.
I had a question before you talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember. I'll come up with a question in a second. I'm too busy drinking.
I've got one. Ryan, can you tell us about you said you make a gallon. It doesn't seem like a lot in a thing, but I imagine you make way more. Like what's the production like? Is this a you do it on a Saturday and you let it go if you're getting started, or is this you got to be somewhat committed to it? And where are you guys at now?
I'm definitely on the more committed side. So this is batch. What I brewed today, I think that was before we were live here, but brewed a peanut butter chocolate stout with a buddy of mine. So this is one. Now I do these things where I lose bets against my buddies, and then I have to brew whatever they want.
Oh, that's fabulous.
Yeah.
That happened with my buddy John.
Something on the game this weekend, and you can make some more of this stuff for us.
Yeah, there you go. We can make that happen. But no, yeah. So like the 1 gallon thing, you're gonna get at the end of the day, you're only gonna get like 6-8 bottles out of that. It's not worth your time. So you quickly start to scale up. the most common homebrew batch is 5 gallons. So, I mean, roughly you're talking 45, 50 pints if you do it right.
It's kind of like a 1/6 keg, right?
It's exactly the same. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so I actually, the first kegging I ever did was on a 6th barrel from a commercial brewery. Very annoying to get those things apart with just at-home tools. So then we moved to like these things called corny kegs, which were originally from the soda industry, and they're now used for home brewing. So they're specific. They have an in and an out post for gas and liquid. So yeah, I'll usually have kind of 2 taps on, 5 gallons each. So I mean, that's a fair amount of beer to be in the house. You got to be entertaining. And so obviously that's been, tempered a little bit over the past couple of years with pandemic and doing less of that. But yeah, so you're essentially looking at minimum of a 2-week process. If you're kegging beer, it's much quicker than letting it condition in the bottle, because it's all about getting it carbonated at that point. And in a keg, you're just forcing CO2 into it. So, you get to a point when you're obsessed with the hobby and, can't see it here, but you build a bar around a kegerator and you put taps on and that sort of thing. And you're kind of brewing once or twice a month and always have a rotating schedule. Five's the max size that I can really do because I'm still doing it on the stovetop and whatnot. But I'll experiment with smaller 3-gallon batches. Sometimes you don't, some of the heavier beers, especially like this stout, for instance, is going to be about 8% and chocolate and peanut butter. You can only have so much of that. There's a time and a place. So a little bit smaller batch on those.
I don't know. Somebody right here would say that there is an unlimited chocolate and peanut butter together is unlimited in its consumption.
Yeah, my wife agrees with that.
You talk about, Ryan, not as long as in the bottle. How long does it take? How long does this bottle sit before you drink it?
So the interesting thing here is I'm actually bottling from the keg. So I've got this badass tool. It's called a beer gun. And
you had me at beer gun. Let's do it. How much you need?
Oh, geez, like
it connects into the gas, and it actually, you put a little bit of CO2 to the bottom of the bottle to purge the oxygen, and then it's actually filling with pressure as opposed to just pouring out of a tap like a growler. So assuming those had a little bit of pop and they're still carbonated, it did its job. But typically, if you're bottling instead of kegging, you would go, the fermented beer would go into the bottles with a little bit of sugar that you'd put in the bottle, so that any leftover yeast would eat that sugar, produce CO2 while it's sealed up, and then you've got a carbonated beer. That takes probably minimum 2 weeks to really get it right. And you got to be careful about the amount of sugar, or else you'll have an exploding bottle on your hands.
That's a bad day. Mike is hanging out with us. Hey, Mike, glad you're here. Ryan's beer's not distributed in stores, so there's not an opportunity to purchase it, but he asked if you've got a website. And then what I wanted to ask you too, if somebody else wants to start homebrewing, you must be part of some community, right? Like, you're part of the basement hanging out there with money geeks, but there's got to be a beer geek site that you hang out at and where people can get involved.
Yeah, there's a ton of them. So there are a lot of local homebrew clubs as this has gotten more popular. So I've been part of some of those loosely back in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and here in Chicago. The main one, I've got another kind of virtual basement that I hang out in. It's called the Brew Club, BRU, and it's part of Brewlosophy, which is a great homebrewing podcast. They do all these experiments, they call them, where they kind of test side by side split batches, and they isolate one variable and try and take the scientific approach to it. So pretty cool there. Website, there's not much going on there. I'm pretty active on Instagram. So Instagram is Mac Brewing, all one word. So that's where most of my stuff is.
And you'll see there what competitions you're in and stuff. We follow you there. This, by the way, so let's talk about Stallions United against Hayes. OG, what are you thinking?
Fantastic. 2 for 2 so far.
What's surprising to me, Ryan, is that, we talked about IPAs, and my problem with IPAs is really just that bitter hoppiness, and it's not here. I mean, it is not here. Like I'm not tasting the overly hoppy thing that now annoys me when it comes to IPAs. I used to love it, and now it just drives me crazy. So very, Yeah, incredibly smooth.
Yeah, and this one, it probably, if you would have drank it during its proposed shelf life, it probably would have been a little bit hoppier. But maybe that's good. Maybe that's good if you didn't want a hoppy brew, because this is a kind of a style that's getting. It's not really well defined. So there's a thing called an IPL, which is an India Pale Lager. There's also this thing called a cold IPA. They all sort of blur the lines of trying to be cleaner like a lager, but introduce some of that hop character. A lot of this actually is now big in New Zealand of all places. So there's this kind of experimental category called New Zealand Pilsner. So that's kind of what we were going for is the kind of the clean and traditional Czech Pilsner style as a base with a little bit of extra dry hop and aroma and stuff. Probably a lot of that is faded, but yeah, hopefully it still tastes pretty clean.
I think I just found a hack, which is store this beer for 5 months, which is not what you wanted, because I like it the way it is. Like that's great for us. It looks like Gertrude's hanging out with us. So she's got Mac Brewing's Instagram there, Mike. So you can just click it and then hit follow. Good stuff there. All right.
Yeah, I was going to say, this reminded me when I was in Prague, we drank a lot of those kind of Pilsners in Czech Republic. And this is like that Urquell. That was really good.
Delicious.
Really liked that. Yeah. And very balanced.
Yeah, that's the classic. That stuff is amazing. I can definitely drink that anytime, any place.
Yeah. Yeah. And they make a darker one, a Kozel. Have you ever heard of that one?
Yep.
And I mean, do you make a style like that? Because I don't know anybody in America making that style. And my wife loves it. That's the only beer she wants to drink.
That's interesting. You'll find a fair amount of the dark lagers, but they're more like the German oriented, like a Schwarzbier, some of those styles. I haven't seen too many that would match kind of that Czech dark Pilsner style. That's one area I haven't tried. I was a buddy who was over today was brewing with me. He said, "Hey, are there any styles you haven't really tried brewing that you want to?" And that would be one of them for sure.
Yeah, that might be a nice little niche because nobody else is in it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. We're ready to move on to the brown.
I think I heard OG say he would pay for a good dark Pilsner like that.
I think we should, I think we got 2 trips, OG, like company trips. We need to go to the Czech Republic to help Ryan out with that. And then we also need to go to New Zealand to check out that craze.
Yeah.
I think that's reasonable.
Cider Mill's next, I guess, huh?
Yeah, this is the most probably exciting one in the package, in my opinion. It'll be the most different one that you try, hopefully. So,
by the way, is there a better way, not to cut you up, but is there a better way to spend a Saturday afternoon than cracking open another one?
Well, maybe in the fall in Michigan or the rest of the Midwest, going to the cider mill is a good way. Those donuts,
yeah,
best thing in the world, donuts and cider. So that was the inspiration for this one. Put it into a brown ale. This was actually for a competition at Bell's in Kalamazoo. So they give out 2 home brewers. You can come to their brewery, fill your own vessel with the starting wort, which is the base liquid. And then you can make any style you want and submit it back to them for competition as long as you use natural ingredients. So didn't win that competition or anything like that, but got some positive feedback. I was trying to make one that would remind people of the season and of home and stuff like that. Actually took a second place in one of the Chicago competitions for the brown ale category with this one. So I'll be interested to hear if you get cinnamon, if you get apple, if that's still coming through.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I can smell the cinnamon.
Having now that we're in Texas and there's no such thing as cider and donuts. Cider in Texas is apple juice that they call cider. It's
disgusting.
Ridiculous.
It's like
terrible.
it's bright yellow.
Horrible.
It's see-through. It's see-through.
Yeah.
And then donuts are like, nothing compared to being in like Northville or Ann Arbor or, any of those other places where you can go get an actual jug of cider.
Well, up by here, I've got a Rochester Mills mug here.
Oh, yeah.
Rochester, another
Thing.
great
So
place.
right out there by Yates Cider Mill and some of those places. Yeah, it was funny. I remember the first fall we were here in Texarkana, we see cider. We're like, oh, cool.
Cider.
We bought a couple jugs. We take it home, and I think we poured it out.
Right into
Yeah.
the right into the sink. Yep.
It was
Yep.
so nasty.
Like a hot pocket.
It was so bad.
Oh yeah, I believe it.
You guys
This
have
is
no
the one
idea.
that I was most looking
no,
forward to.
no idea.
I love my apple cider and donuts. So
All right, nice. Does it remind you of that? I mean, I know we like built it up with the name and everything. What I like to ask people was, do they think of fall or do they think of like a Christmas ale? Because there's cinnamon in both.
No, it's
Christmas ales tradition, but I want people to think fall instead of Christmas.
well, the cool thing I think that you did, and once again, we've had this for 5 months, which is past your suggested time to have it. But it again is it's lighter than a Christmas ale. So I think because it's a little bit lighter for me makes it much more fall. And I've got lots of cinnamon. I'm not getting apple. Are you getting apple?
Not much. No, I mean I get the sweet. Kind of like you talk about donut. I definitely get that kind of doughy sweetness. Definitely there, and it's so dark. It's got a little bit of thickness to it.
But it doesn't taste as dark as it looks.
No, it's not like
It
coffee or harsh at all.
definitely tastes a lot lighter than when I look at this. I mean, I get a Guinness feel, when I look at that, and then I taste it, and
No,
it's
it's
not
like Guinness at all.
No,
No,
She's going back for more, Ryan. So that's a good
Yeah.
sign.
Nice, good.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say
absolutely.
this for Guinness.
So-
this dark one.
So Ryan, I think you're married. Is your spouse a beer drinker?
Yeah, she is. She was an IPA drinker before I was actually. So going back when we met about 8 years ago, and then almost 8 years ago, we just got married last year actually. So on our third attempt after 2 pandemic cancellations.
Oh, yeah, right. I didn't even think about that. Oh, what a nightmare.
Yeah, all good.
Yeah. So, but what does she think about the quote hobby now? Because I feel like it's more than a hobby. It feels like an addiction.
Yeah, it can be. No, she's very supportive. She's asked where I want to take this. My next thing I'm pursuing is just kind of for fun is the Cicerone certification. So that's like the beer equivalent of sommelier. And I think really only people in the industry do it, but I want to give it a go. So we'll see. I don't know if it'll happen this year or next year, but no, she's been hugely supportive of everything. Who knows? Might take this to a brew pub level at some point down the road. Not looking to do that now, just keeping it a hobby, but yeah, we'll see.
So like sommelier, you mean it's kind of a taste buds thing. You're tasting different beers and bringing out the notes and rating the beers.
Yeah. So part of it, there's kind of the theory and exam side. So history of beer, ingredients, brewing process. Then there's the tasting. And so there is kind of a blind taste component where you would identify off flavors and things like that. For beer, it's more, more style and I guess a little bit more black and white in that sense than wine, where you've got the whole terroir thing going on. So a little bit less daunting in that respect. But and then they do get into like beer and food pairings, which at this point I don't know much about. I mean, I've tried a lot of beers in my time. I'm nearly at 2,000 unique beers checked in on Untapped. I don't know if you guys have used Untapped before, but Microbrew is on Untapped, by the way.
Nice. That's cool. That's another thing I appreciated about if anybody ever goes to Kansas City, the Boulevard Brew tour, and even just their deck, they have a wonderful place where you go and drink different brews. In fact, they always have 3 experimental beers on tap that they're working on that you can't get anywhere else. But the food pairings, Ryan, are also what makes that a lot of fun because they seem to be really, really good at it. I mean, they seem to be really good. Like there are foods that I can't even, I paused there because I'm trying to think of exactly what I ate where I went, wow, the beer actually made that way better. And I'm not coming up with anything, but
pizza, I'm not sure.
How about a
maybe
burger, maybe
French
some
fries.
wings.
Yeah.
I'm thinking
Cheese
2 a.m. I'm thinking
Yeah.
Coleslaw.
Taco Bell.
The classic, I think the classic is the German beer hall and the pretzel with the beer.
Pretzel
is
and
a
cheese.
perfect combo. But what I like that has happened, especially over the pandemic, is breweries have become like a really good place to go because they're more spacious and they've started to really up their food game. I need to check out Boulevard for sure. But I mean, breweries in Chicago, everywhere you go, you can find great food at breweries nowadays. A lot of, really upscale, I guess, bar food, great burgers, chicken sandwiches, things like that. And then ones that are doing really unique stuff too.
That's why so much of the book tour that as we go around the country is going to be at microbrews, is partly for that reason, because libraries and bookstores, didn't want anything to do with us, and microbrews had a lot of room, and people could come out. But lately, that's been changing. Lately, now libraries and bookstores want us too. So now we're doing a twofer. Now we're going to go to the library, the bookstore, and then we'll go to the microbrew. So, because it doesn't have to be either or, Ryan. I don't know if you know that. It could be both. There's power in the word and.
Drinking and reading go well together.
That's right. Absolutely.
Not retention, but you can read.
Talking about retention. Yeah. Talking about reading. Yeah. Should be fun.
Not stacked though. I would need to be dead sober to make sure I retain all of stacked.
That's right. Absolutely. Focused. You got to be focused.
It's such a serious book. You can understand why.
Very serious. Yeah. Super serious.
Yeah.
Only coffee allowed for.
I can say, by the way, because you and I, Ryan, had this discussion, and for the 8 people hanging out with us, in Chicago, we're going to be there for 2 days, and it looks like we're going to do 2 events. We're going to do one at a downtown location that we haven't found yet, and then we'll do one out in Naperville. So that's what we're working on now. So don't have those specific locations yet, but what we're going to do too, because we have, I think you and I talked about this. We have more fans in Chicago. I think Chicago, OG, is what is Chicago? The 4th biggest city, 5th biggest city in the United States. And I think it's our 2nd biggest concentration of stackers. So doing 2 small events, I think, is going to be a lot of fun versus doing one big thing. So
very cool.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see where you guys end up in the city. I mean, I think we had talked about there's lots of comedy clubs, obviously a lot of breweries, a lot of good options.
Yeah. Well, I'm wondering if there's a place that'll let us bring in some stuff. If we can do a deal with Mac Brewing to bring in some.
Well, when's Chicago going to, I know all the dates have shifted, right?
Yeah, the dates have shifted. And it's funny. It's, I had it open for a second. Let me see.
21st, April
21 and 22, right? 22 is an open day.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So 21 and 22. So one of those will be downtown and one will be out in the burbs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Springtime in the city should be pretty nice.
Great time much better than, when were we coming?
Or there could be
February.
17 inches of snow.
I was going to say, I thought we were coming like February 4th or 5th. Like we were supposed to be there, I think, like next week or the week after. And this is going to be a much better time to be in Chicago, I think.
Yeah, city will be coming back alive out of hibernation by then.
Yeah, good stuff.
Fun.
OG, which is your favorite?
Oh, golly. Favorite is going to be the Stallions.
Mrs. OG, your favorite?
It's really tough. I love the Cider Mill, but I also think like the King Kolsch with some orange slices in the summer would be a great choice.
Yeah, Mike.
No, this last one. This last one's it's mine.
The Cider Mill.
Yeah, Cider Mill.
Yeah, which is funny because Ryan, I think this is a good sign because you're splitting the group, because I really like the one I thought I would hate, the United Against the Haze.
All right.
Yeah, I think that's it too. But those were fantastic.
Any of these though?
Yes.
Yeah, all of these were really good.
Yeah, there wasn't a bad one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Despite sitting in the fridge for 5 weeks or 5 months.
Yes.
They did sit in the fridge from the day that I got them. I swear, hand to God, I put them.
Mine
right
too hasn't left the wine fridge the whole time.
That's good. That's stable.
And I don't know, Ryan, if I should say this, but when somebody that you don't know sends you some beers that they microbrew by themselves, my hopes were not generally that high.
It was definitely
I needed my closet.
a leap of confidence. Like,
these were surprisingly really, really good. Yes. Yeah.
All right, good to hear. Now
Yeah.
let's hope you don't get sick or anything. No, I'm just kidding.
call
I
me
do have to
tomorrow.
ask you-
If you make it till noon tomorrow, it was great.
That's right.
It's like the clock is ticking now.
Yeah.
Let's see which one stays with you. I do have to ask this because my buddy Paz, who OG also knows, he and his dad do microbrewing just once a year when they get together as a family at Christmas time. He and his dad, just for fun, they will make a batch. They'll make a Christmas batch together, and then I think that Paz is there with him for like a week, so they're able to everybody kind of take some home. But his always say on them, by the way, sorry Paz if you're watching this, nowhere near as good as Ryan's, but his always say on the bottle, and he tells you, he's like, do not drink this from the bottle. Like, you cannot drink this from the bottle. Why is that? Why is that you don't drink it from the bottle?
So that means there's a lot of bottle conditioning going on. So the method I talked about where you add sugar to the bottle to carbonate it, they're doing that. And then that beer is probably getting better and better to a certain period, and then it kind of stabilizes. So there's going to be a lot of sediment in the bottom of the bottle.
Oh.
So this is one of the reasons if you have Belgian beers typically, or really any bottle conditioned beers, even a bunch of them in the US do it. You want to keep them stored upright, so not like wine where you're laying them down. You want them cold and upright, and then if you get it poured by someone who knows what they're doing in a restaurant, they'll leave kind of the last little bit in the bottom of the bottle, unless you were to ask for that to be poured in, or if it was like a Hefeweizen is a style that's kind of meant to have that very hazy yeast mixed in.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're leaving some in the bottom for all that kind of dead yeast and whatever else has dropped out of that beer.
Gotcha. That always just gave me some fear.
I did
When
not.
I'm like, don't drink this out of the bottle. Am I going to die? Like,
All of it's in me. So
Perfect. Yeah, none of that going on in these.
yes. Well, and we did, because they were in the wine fridge. They were sideways too. So we did everything wrong. So, hey man, I got to say before we sign, thank you so much for sending these to us.
Yes,
That was awesome.
Yeah, toast to you, buddy.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for doing this. Glad we finally made this happen.
That was fun as hell. Thanks a lot for hanging out, everybody. And by the way, we talked about the tour a little bit. If you want to come see OG and I, and in Chicago, maybe Ryan, head to stackybenjamins.com/stacked, and you'll see all the tour dates as we make our way around the US. All right, guys. See you later.
Thanks.
How do I turn this off? I have no idea how we end the stream now.
Many beers.
since you've had 3 beers, since you've had a beer and a half, you're like, I don't even know what button to push
Get all
anymore.
crazy.
Just walk
we gotta
away.
Go run for the bar. Thanks, Mike. See you later.